Welcome to the 8th and final stage of Paris-Nice. It's a hilly affair today, and this is our lone breakaway survivor Martin Emilio Rodriguez, a Colombian on Zulu Kingdom. He had a breakaway companion at one point, I believe it was Roger the Cock, but he was dropped, so Rodriguez is all on his lonesome and looking to score some King of the Mountains points and possibly claim the lead in that competition on the final day. So he has been on the attack on the climbs. Peloton mostly intact behind, no attacks yet on the yellow jersey of Bjarne Riis. Some attacks behind. This is Dag Otto Lortzen and Alexander Kolobnov. They're fighting for KOM points. However, I think Emilio Rodriguez has scored too many of those points and is probably untouchable in that competition, especially if he scores again on the next climb. So that's where we are on the route. Around 38 kilometers still to ride. If we do get attacks on the next two climbs, things could get interesting. Bjarne Riis leads Andy Schleck by only 7 seconds. So if Schleck were to win the stage and Bjarne Riis finished worse than third, then Andy Schleck could take the lead. I don't see that happening though. I think some of the sprinters could hang around. I think we could get a decent sized group coming in towards the finish. And of course on this climb that could all go out the window depending on what the riders do. So Rodriguez is still out on his lonesome. Not impossible he stays away, I do think it's a bit unlikely. We'll see a big surge of pace from the main field at some point in the near future. Hasn't happened yet though. This is Alessandro Ballan, the classics rider from Kelme, setting a steady tempo. Piasecki up there as well for Ceramicas, still working for Pedro Delgado, defending his 5th place overall. Thanks Ceramicas fans and their manager were hoping that Delgado would possibly win yesterday's stage on top of that mountain. Maybe a little disappointed with 5th place, but still a solid result and a good chunk of points overall for him. They've also got the stage win from Mario Cipollini, so not all doom and gloom for Ceramicas. They've gotten some things out of this race. But Rodriguez continues his lonely climb up the mountain to Côte de Châteauneuf. He will be the first over the top, and I think if he wins this climb, which he will officially clinch the King of the Mountains jersey for good. Nobody else will be able to outscore him over the remainder of the course. So a great breakaway for Rodriguez, and by winning that KOM jersey, he scores 100 points for his team. So the manager of Zulu Kingdom should be very pleased with that. Kolobnov goes over in 2nd on the climb, so he will remain in 3rd place in that classification. And that might be the best that Adidas gets out of Paris-Nice. It's been a dreadful event for them. I don't think they've placed anyone in the top 5 on a single stage. They've hardly done any attacking. So a race to forget for Adidas, but with riders like Marco Pantani and Philippe Gilbert starting in Tirreno Adriatico, I think they'll have much better luck in the next stage race. Should be a lot more successful there. And of course in the hilly classics, the Ardennes, which are still upcoming. Kelme, Ceramicas, and La Viclaire controlling things at the front of the race. It's Konychev on the front. This is the last climb. A generously categorized Category 3 because this probably wouldn't even be categorized in a race like the Tour de France, but it is. A gentle incline before the fast downhill to the finish. Of course, Rodriguez still dangling out in the front. The margin is down to just 24 seconds, and Van Dijk setting a very hard tempo. So too is Kelme. Perhaps they are interested in setting things up, maybe for a Bjarne Riis stage win, because he is quite a good sprinter for a climber. They also have Rudy Altig, who certainly is in this group. Rodriguez just cleaning on out in front by the narrowest of margins, 14 seconds now. but it is all downhill to the finish. So if the pace slows in the peloton, this could get interesting. Balan, who's working for Kelme at the front, also not a very good descender. Rodriguez around average going downhill, but of course he has everything to ride for. But he is also probably quite exhausted, so things should even out. Van Dijk takes to the front for Ceramicas. I'd be surprised if Cipollini was still in this group for Ceramicas, but I bet Konychev still would be. Konychev, certainly a good candidate to win if he gets in position at the bottom of this descent. And this is what I warned, the pace slows and the gap to Rodriguez goes out. Now Foiler, the first time I've seen Urs Foiler this entire race, and he's pulling on a descent at the end of the race on the last stage. I stopped talking about Fiat because I gave up hope that they would accomplish anything in this race. And they still might not if Rodriguez does away, but I wonder what has driven Urs Foiler to finally show himself in Paris-Nice. 5Ks to go, the gap is 29 seconds. This is going to be a desperately close finish between Rodriguez and the chasing peloton. And this is an attack out of the peloton. This is Julian Alaphilippe. Very on brand for the aggressive French rider to try a late attack like this. The twists and turns. I think Rodriguez is going to get overhauled in the last kilometer. He looks absolutely exhausted. Here comes Alaphilippe attacking out of the pack. And Alaphilippe is going to get his first win of the season on stage 8 with a late attack. And what a cruel way to lose for Martin Emilio Rodriguez. He was off the front by himself. He led over all 4 climbs, but it was 1 kilometer too far for the Colombian. He has to settle for 2nd place. A bitter defeat, but if there's any consolation, he still wins the King of the Mountains classification in Paris-Nice. So a great day in the saddle for the Colombian. And Cursipu, he will be the last rider to finish on the last stage of the race. We'll zoom through that for the viewers. But a very entertaining race across all 8 stages. We had that battle royale of the sprinters, that closely contested time trial, Andy Schleck winning those 2 back-to-back stages, and Alaphilippe stealing one over on everybody else on the last stage to get Blackberry a big win. And of course, who could forget that breakaway from Rodriguez? That'll live with us throughout the rest of the season. There's your results. Alaphilippe, 14 seconds ahead of Rodriguez and the rest of the pack. Edward Van Dijk, you could say, won that bunch sprint for 3rd place. And Gaillon, Kniedemann, Konychev, Darrigade, Foiler, Francis Pellissier, and Pacho Rodriguez rounding out the top 10. So the likes of Andy Schleck, Pedro Delgado, and Reese, nowhere to be seen. They've chosen not to attack each other today, which leaves the top of the general classification unchanged. Julian Alaphilippe moves up from 12th to 11th, and that is the only significant change. So these are your final standings. Your top 5 is Bjarne Riis, Andy Schleck, Tommy Prim, who was a revelation in this race, Pedro Delgado, and Gösta Peterson. Peterson perhaps wondering what could have been if not for that gap on stage 6, but still gets in the top 5. Darrigade wins the points classification. He extends his lead on the final day. Jamaluddin Abdujaparov will get 2nd, Cipollini 3rd, then Schleck and Reese 4th and 5th respectively. So a great battle for that jersey goes the way of Darrigade, and 100 points for La Vie Claire. In the mountains classification, it's Rodriguez who deservedly wins that competition. Kulovnev ends up 2nd, Sherwin, who had a wonderful race, he was in so many breakaways, he will get 3rd. And Blackberry gets the team classification. They had their riders up there consistently on the big stages that mattered, mainly Prim, Onglade, and Alaphilippe, so a well-deserved victory for them in that competition. Kelme will get 2nd thanks to the exploits of Reese and Altig. So that was Paris-Nice.